And unless you have courage, you will never ask the tough questions in your life, and you'll never be willing to take the action step that you need. And because the main problem for us is either we will be conforming to other people or we'll have the courage to break through the conformity.
Our guest today is Minesh Baxi, an engineer turned author who made a bold decision to design a life on his own terms. After hearing the song Cats in a Cradle, Minesh chose to leave the traditional career path to work from home, homeschool his kids, and focus on what mattered most: freedom, learning, and family. He has been married to his wife Kim for 33 years, and together they raised two remarkable children: Macy, a TEDx speaker and podcast host, and Sahil, a tech-savvy AI tutor and entrepreneur. Minesh has written 12 books, including Stop Hiring Losers and 7 Critical Skills They Don't Teach You in School, co-authored with his daughter.
Welcome to another episode of Soul Shift Sessions podcast, where we have deep, transformative conversations to help you transform your mind to transform your life. I'm your favorite freedom and financial wellness coach, Coach Sapphire Star. And of course, I have with me my favorite co host, Coach
Kyle McLeod.
and we're super excited to dive into the conversation today with our special guests. And before we get into the conversation, I would love if you guys, if you want to be a part of the conversation yourself, please go to www.soulshift.sessions.com to be a guest. If you want to join the Soul Shift Sessions tribe, go to www.soulshift.sessions.com. If you know someone that needs a soul shift, please make sure you share this special podcast today. Listeners, I have a question for you. What if climbing the corporate ladder wasn't the definition of success? What if designing a life that was filled with freedom, purpose, and possibility was the definition? How would you create that? Whether you're an entrepreneur, a parent, or someone on a soul journey, this conversation today is for you. And my hope is that it empowers you to make and take a bold shift to change your life. Welcome, our special guest, Minesh Baxi.
Wow, thank you. Wow, both Sapphire Star and Kyle, boy, make people feel really, really welcome. I think you know how to make people feel really, really special. And for those people who are watching, listening, come on. I mean, don't you want this welcome for you? And that's why you need to go to soulshipsessions.com, be part of the tribe, and be one of the people like me getting elevated, putting on a pedestal. My goodness, you are amazing. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for being here. Like your bio, your story was very inspiring to me. And I would love, and I can't wait for us to get into this conversation about how you made that shift. And I love in your bio where you say, I'm an intentional living advocate. Give us a little bit about what that means and how did you get this title?
Okay. So first of all, for those who are watching, listening, you can obviously guess I was born right here in Florida, right? My accent gives me away.
I was born in Mexico.
Mucho gusto. So, so the problem, obviously, some of them might have is like, did we have to hear another accent from another country on this podcast? And if that's you, I sympathize with you. I was born in a city called Agra, which is, some of those might know, is famous for Taj Mahal. So I was born in India and I lived there most of my life. And the key part that I want to mention is I was a good student, got great academic grades. I did the normal thing which people do, which is what Kyle, you and I, Sapphire, go to school, get a good grade, get a job eventually from degrees or whatever else. And we are told we are grown up and life will be great. I mean, were you promised that as well? Or
Absolutely.
am I the,
They call it
Absolutely.
the American dream here.
well, I don't know about you, but that was a nightmare for me. And
That
I can tell you that for 12 years, despite having the credentials, so to speak, I struggled in my job. And eventually, through a few different things, I was laid off, fired, whatever you want to call it. I was an independent contractor. My contract was stopped. And I had to really start asking myself some tough questions. Like, okay, where do I want to go? Because I knew I didn't want to be doing that anymore. I don't know, Kyle, Sapphire, have you ever felt that you actually were in a place where it seemed like a dead end?
Yeah.
I mean,
Every doggone job that I had, right? Because I wasn't working I was working for the money and I
yeah,
wasn't working for fulfillment.
very good point, Kyle. Exactly. And while I was a computer programmer, I did that for 12 years. And this is part of my TEDx talk coming up in basically another 10 days that I'll be doing in Denver.
not
Is I really got frustrated. I really got frustrated, but I didn't know what to do. Like Kyle said, we were making money. So how do you stop it, right? You have responsibilities. You just can't walk away and say, hey, I don't want this job anymore. And then what, right? And I think that's what happened. Luckily enough, during this period, I was attending every seminar I could, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, you can imagine, right? And you mentioned Lisa Nichols, so I've seen her in action as well, working with Mark Victor Hansen, and she was one of the special speakers we had. So what happened was very simple. It's like I had to ask myself the question, can I do this job or any job at all? And the answer was a resounding no. Was a resounding no. But where do I start? And this is, I'm talking about 2000 when coaches and everything wasn't as commonly known as what people do. But I had to ask myself some tough questions and say, hey, am I willing to invest my time, energy, resources? And thank God my wife has been extremely supportive. And I made the decision to go full time into speaking and coaching in 2000, which is 25 years ago.
Gosh,
wow.
2000 doesn't seem like it was that far ago, but apparently it was.
The whole generation ago.
I almost forgot everything he said when he said it was 25 years ago. Like, everything just left all of us.
Yeah, and when you posed the question about have you reached a dead end in your life, it made me think and about my life. And I don't know if I ever came to a dead end, but I've definitely come to a crossroads where I felt like I couldn't continue on the path that I was on. I needed to go right or left. There needed to be a decision made in the shift because where I wasn't necessarily, I wasn't fulfilled. At some point in my life, I felt like I was programmed and conditioned to operate in a certain way, but that only got me so far in life. I came to that crossroads like, well, what do you want? How do you want to live your life and have a fulfilled life? Like the topic of today is creating a life that you don't have to take a vacation from. But what does that look like? And like you say, Manesh, where do you start with that? And it begins with a conversation. It begins with a question. What do I want out of life?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know,
Go ahead,
just
Kai.
listening to the both of you, I hear that choices were made. And when you talk about quality of life, last night I had the privilege of talking to an old friend of mine who lives out in Arizona. And she used to live here in Jackson. And she was like, we had some good times on Skid Row. And we called it Skid Row because we had very little finances. We would pool ourselves together and have meals together. We do events, or do things together. My kids would come. So it would be like my wife and kids and my friend. And we literally did not have much. But in that time period, we felt like we had everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
because we were family.
Mhm.
We were with our family together, and we were doing things together as a community. And it was a lot of fun. Like, yeah, we had challenges, but the community that we created was just awesome. It was amazing.
Yeah, so if you are open to, let me just mention and jump to something specific here. So all of us have big goals, right? All of us have big goals. We all want a great life. We want a fulfilled life. And I know one of the podcasts you were talking about, you can love others only as much as you love yourself, right? And as you talked about that. So the first step, if I look at life in general, and if I want to break it down to one skill, the skill is called courage. Courage is when you are willing to, like you said, take choices, make chances. And the most important part is you have the courage, like Les Brown says, dare to dream, like one of his books, right? Dare to dream. And unless you have courage, you will never ask the tough questions in your life, and you'll never be willing to take the action step that you need. And because the main problem for us is either we will be conforming to other people or we'll have the courage to break through the conformity. And until we have that courage, we have to realize that we are conforming. Like I was told, hey, Minesh, go to school, get good grades, get a job, and you're going to be set for life. Okay. You get married at a certain age, you have children and everything else, and you just send your children to school and everything else. It's like it sounds like the same conformity over and over and over. And it takes courage to be the person to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be conforming to what the society, what my upbringing has been. I'm at a point in life that I have the courage and the conviction to take the step which will create an intentional life, not according to the conformity, the norms of the society. So, my life, I learned about breaking through that conformity. Does that make sense?
Oh my God,
Absolutely.
that is a word. Okay. Yeah, that's a word. Because I talk about courage, but I never talked about it because it sounds like you're saying if you're not choosing courage, you're choosing conformity. That's a word.
Yeah. And you mentioned Les Brown, and one of my favorite quotes from Les Brown is life begins right outside your comfort zone, right? Like we get real, that conformity, we get real comfortable. It feels safe. It feels like you're protected. But I think is apropos that you were an engineer turned author of 12 books, speaker, homeschooling dad, and intentional living advocate, which I love this word, by the way, this title. And I guess my question for you is like this courage that we talk about. How do someone get to that courage? How do they get to a place of challenging their comfort, challenging the status quo when it feels safe?
Well, I think the good point is that courage is not something anybody gives you. Courage is something you develop, but obviously through an environment, right? So the main thing, the first thing always is going to be like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about, is a burning desire. Are you at a point where you are willing to let go of what you have to create and have something that you don't? And until you're willing to let go of what you already have, which is the safe comfort zone, you're not going to have the desire, or you don't have the desire to actually pursue something bigger. So you have to reach a dead end at some point where it doesn't go anywhere and you're like, this is not going to work for me. And I need to figure out how do I find the road that will take me where I want to go, because your dead end basically is still telling you that whatever you've been doing so far is not getting you where you want to really go. And the moment you realize that and you ask yourself, how important is it for me to get what I want? And if the answer is not much, then you'll stay in your comfort zone. You'll be safe. You will not take any actions outside of it. Because the difference between people who achieve results and people who don't is the level of courage and commitment they have to their dream. It's not going to be any more complicated. It's the level of courage and commitment. And once you have courage and commitment, then you seek a coach. And then if the coach has created a community, then courage, coach, and community, the three C's, will get you where you want to go. Does that help you understand where I'm coming
Oh, yeah.
from?
Oh yeah. Can I add a fourth C? We got a little alliteration here going on, like consistency.
Totally.
I love it.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Exactly.
Yes.
I totally agree with you. Yes. Because typically consistency is hard if you don't have courage, coach, and community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember coming to a point in my life, and this is to speak on what you were talking about just now, where about how do you develop courage. And I remember when I got a divorce and was working two jobs just to survive, living paycheck to paycheck. And I got to a point in my life, I was like, I am sick of living this way. Like, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't know where my life is headed, but I know where I am right now. I no longer want to be. And that was the turning point in my life where I was like, okay, how do I not live paycheck to paycheck? How do I not spend all my time working two jobs? And that's when I started my financial freedom journey of paying off $33,000 debt in 3 years, firing my boss, starting my own business, and traveling the world. Now, obviously, that was a process. Obviously, like that was, courage, commitment, hiring a coach, and consistency. But it did start with that point of something has to change, a desire to want to buy back my time, to have freedom, to create a life that I don't have to take a vacation from.
Exactly. Exactly. And you are an example of exactly what we are talking about because you reached a point where you knew you didn't want to be there anymore and you found the courage to pursue the desires, the dreams that you had. So, congratulations to you for creating like big changes like paying off $33,000 in debt, obviously creating an option for yourself to be living a life, which, like you said, you don't have to take a vacation from.
All right. I want to ask a question because if I don't ask it now, I probably will forget. Um, I saw that in your bio that I think you and your family had visited Disney World like at least 200 times. One, I'm trying to figure out how that's even possible, right? But I also have a brother who, in my opinion, we are the extended family and Disney is the main family.
Interesting.
My brother has been to the wedding of someone that he met on Facebook through like the Disney
Wow.
like community. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, you actually have real friends. Real friends. Like just Facebook friends. These are real friends you met on Facebook. So that was amazing. What is it about Disney that had you bring your family so many times?
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I was born in Agra, and like I said, I came to US. I came to New Jersey first, then stayed there for a couple of years. Then Minneapolis, Minnesota, which was too cold. So from that winter, November, I was gone. Came to Michigan. Michigan is not cold, but it is not as cold as Minneapolis. I can tell you that. And that's where I met my wife. And we've been married for 33 years. We have two beautiful kids. My daughter turned 22 yesterday. And Kyle, you know her, you met her. And my son is 17, turning 18 in January. So here's what happened. I'll give you the story so that people need to understand that things don't happen in vacuum, right? There are precipitating causes, reasons, your thoughts, desires. So I remember one specific situation. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I see that there was light under my daughter's door. Do you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. And she's only at that time 11 years old. And just like every parent who wants to take permission before taking action, I didn't. And I just walked in to find out what she was doing in the middle of the night. And she was Snapchatting something. It's like video chatting. You know what I'm talking about. Now, this is again quite a while ago. This is around 2014, 15, I think. And immediately I took away her toys because I couldn't afford her to be connecting with other people. But the reality is this. I realize that she's seeking relationship when she doesn't feel related to us. So she's seeking outlets in other places. And I tried to more understand what are the options I have. And then I told my family, we lived in Michigan at that time. So, hey, for winter, we'll go for 90 days to Florida, and then we'll buy an annual pass for Disney and go there practically as much as possible almost every day. Now, obviously, they didn't believe it right away. They're like, oh, really? You know what I'm saying, right? But we did that. So we went not 90 days. I think we went like 60 some days. And in that winter, which was 2016 winter, and we bought the annual pass to Disney as well as annual pass to Universal Studios. Now you might be like, why would you do that? So here is the part.
Different
Imagine
experience.
a teenager, right? A teenager gets to go to Disney every day. I'm creating memories for her. I'm entering the happiest place on the planet with her so that she can connect and say, hey, this is fun. I like being a teenager, or she was 12, turning 13 soon. And she was getting that sense of clarity. Is like, yeah, this is something fun. My family is investing in me. My son was about 80 years old at that time. And Disney at that time, Disney has changed quite a bit since COVID. But at that time, it was easy to get in, go to parks. You didn't have to worry about, too many reservations. You could get automatic reservations. You had three choices and you could just go in. So we
Those were the
would
days,
practically,
Minesh. Those were the
those are
days.
the days. I haven't been to Disney since COVID. So just for your
Yeah, me
information.
either. And the thing is, though, it's very possible that you and your family, and me and my family were there at the same time because we were living in Florida. We moved in 2013, and that was one of the main things that had to get done was getting an annual pass to Disney World because living in Jacksonville, you could drive down for the day and do Disney all day. And at 9 o'clock at night, they've already seen the fireworks plenty of times. Everybody can just get in the car. We can head home. We'll limp home, okay? Because everybody's tired. They'll be sleeping. I'll still be, awake enough to get us back to our home safely. But the thing is, there were so many advantages to just doing that. Like we would go later in the day, instead of like being there at the top of the morning, we'll wait till like, 1 in the afternoon. And we'll sleep at the hotel and go to the pool and then go to Disney, have a great evening and come back. It was so relaxed. Those annual passes made it so that you could go and be relaxed. Like you didn't feel like you had to go to every single thing to get your money's worth. You could just go and do a park.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was a big difference. And we homeschooled our kids. So by 3, 4 o'clock, we would be like, okay, we got 4 or 5 hours we can spend at Disney. And we went. And that was the fun part for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to Disney 200 times, but when I think about when I think about Disney, I think about, they say like is what dreams are made of. The ability to imagine, like Walt Disney, just having this imagination in a place where people can, the children and the child in us, to have that freedom to explore, to dare to dream, right? I feel like that's what Disney represents for people, in my opinion. Well, that's what it represents for me.
Well, a step further is no one's a staff member, everyone's a cast member, right? Which means that there's always a show. And the show is not for them. The show is for you because if this is going to be the happiest place on earth, I need you to feel like you are in the happiest place on earth. And we do that by giving you this show. All the way down to the man who's a janitor. He ain't a janitor. He's the cast member.
Yeah. And what a great metaphor for life, right?
Yeah.
Creating the happiest place on earth for yourself, for your family, for your colleagues, for your employees. How do we design that? That's a perfect example. How do we take control of our life and make this, again, a life you don't have to vacation from? So I want to ask you both a question. Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
No, please go.
I was going to ask you both a question.
Okay.
How, Vanessa, I'll start with you. How do you define success today for yourself?
Very good question. I think most people define success, in their own way, whatever they like. Like in general, when we say success, we mean a progressive realization of a worthwhile dream, right? And everybody has their own worthwhile dream, and hence their definition of success will change. But where I'm at currently in my life, I look at what I have, look at some of the things I have been able to do. To me, the most important component is going to be having a family that is close. Like we all four are home, right? And we've been doing this for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And we've been able to travel. We've been able to go to different places as we see fit. It's not about taking anybody's permission. We do that. So having enough, like being married to the same person for 33 years, having children who are homeschooled, who have my values, not somebody else's values. They understand a lot more about the reality of life. They don't believe in conformity. They have the courage to try different things. And for me personally, as I create a legacy in them, because most parents, they're all committed parents. I'm not saying any parent is not really committed, but I don't think they have the same vision that I've had. And I'm lucky to have that vision where I know that I'm not just going to offload them to the system. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, go to school, get a degree, get a job, and, all that kind of stuff. My goal is to give them a value system and the skills that they can create a life that they can enjoy for the rest of their life because they have more options, more skills. Like my daughter, I don't mind saying this, she doesn't have any high school diploma or college degree, but she can be anywhere on the planet and make money. She coaches, trains successful people, right? The bottom line is she has the level of knowledge and skill that is more relevant in the society than any piece of paper that I believe in. So creating a family where my children are now going to be able to enjoy life, that they can live on their terms with more options, more choices than the people who are conforming. I think that to me is success. While I do want to add is I converted to Christianity a few years ago. I was born in a Hindu family, and having some people, obviously they have their own beliefs, but having my family mm, going the route of Jesus and following that is also extremely important in part of success.
I love that. Kyle?
Yeah, why you let me go first?
I know. I don't even know.
Hell. Fire.
You can't say the hell after we done been talking about Jesus, man. Get your life
You right.
together. That you are me.
You all right.
Start over.
I'll rewind it. What? First, Sapphire.
Like Minesh said, everybody's definition of success is different.
A lot of what Minesh said,
Wrong.
a lot of what he said, I identify with strongly. Especially like with the family and the kids. I want to be the type of person that they feel proud to have me as their dad. But in addition to that, it's almost like how you buy, there's different packages. It's like everything included in this, and so everything that Minesh said, and constantly becoming. And what I mean by that is I did a post about just becoming the person that yesterday's problems are an easy fix today.
Oof.
And I believe that there are people who have experienced the challenges that I have in this day and age, and it's an easy fix for them because not because of their resources or their connections, all that all of those things may play an effect. They also have become or became the person that knows how to deal with those challenges. And so, like, even if they had to start from zero, they could still knock those challenges out because they became the person that deals with that. And so, for me, every day becoming the person that yesterday's challenges are an easy fix today. To me, that's success for me.
Well
That,
said.
that is
Well,
definitely powerful. And I think challenge definition changes there as well. So for somebody, paying $100 for something is a challenge. Well, somebody, $1 million would be a challenge, and maybe somebody paying $1 billion is a challenge, right? So the challenge definition would change.
It's scale.
And as you're becoming,
Yeah.
as you are becoming, you are able to handle more challenges at a
Yes.
higher level than you did
Yes.
before. Your
And knowing that there's
responsibility.
always a new challenge around the corner, right? Like I there was a time in this where I felt that once I get to this particular point, life will be so much easier, right? And turns out that yeah, life will be easier, but it's also going to be harder because there's going to be challenges that I have not experienced that are going to come my way, and I'll have to become the person who can deal with those challenges. So
Yes.
I now understand that there's always a challenge coming. And whatever we're dealing with now is what we're dealing with now, but there's always a tomorrow. So yeah, I constantly try to focus on, like, I'm waking up now in the morning saying, who do I need to become?
that is
Can
so.
I jump in for a quick comment because of what you mentioned here? So I know Kyle is somebody who does things that I don't, and that is biking for 10 hours a day or whatever he does, right? He's on a bike 50 miles, 150 miles, and whatever challenge he takes up, right? So,
Yeah.
so I think the lesson that I'm learning in life, if you're handling the same challenge that you handled yesterday, you're not growing. And I think most people don't understand that. It's like if you are growing, you're handling a different challenge today than you did yesterday. Like I'll just give money as an easy example and then health as well. If $100 was a challenge yesterday for you and it still is a challenge today, you're not growing. Okay. Like if you still have the challenge of not being able to maybe walk 15 minutes as an example, right?
Yeah.
And you still have that challenge today, well, obviously you're not growing. So I think we look at life and we want to learn from it is, am I handling a different level of challenge than yesterday? If the answer is yes, then obviously you're becoming the person that would be proud of the past, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I hear in that is something for me that is a little bit of a challenge is the yesterday versus today. Because I may have had this challenge yesterday, but I'm still working on becoming the person where that challenge yesterday is. So, like, I think that the time element, like, the audience needs to understand that yesterday doesn't mean yesterday,
Literally, yeah.
right? It was a
Absolutely.
while back. And I love the fact that you use the cycling as an example, not only because I'm biased to that, but also because there was a time where I could only do 1 or 2 miles. Then I learned from seeing somebody else that it's possible to do 30 miles in a day and feel okay, like not feel like you're dying. And then I meet someone else that they've done 50 or 100 in a day. And I'm like, that's possible? And so as I learned how things became possible, I became the person that was able to do those things. But the goal for me is to be able to do them and feel good after it's over and not feel like I'm going to die when it's over. Because if I feel great, if I feel like this after 70, 80, or 100 miles, I know that I did all the things yesterday to become the person that I am today on that bike.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Yesterday was a metaphor for the
Yeah.
past and not like literally yesterday.
Yes.
So
Yes.
totally in agreement with that. You got the point very clear, and I'm so proud of you for challenging yourself, because I did set myself a goal last year to bike more, and I didn't. Because again, going back to the desire, coach, and community, when I didn't have those three, guess what happens? It's a nice wish, but nothing much more than that.
Yeah.
Kyle, I love what you said about what's possible. And as we are defining what success means for us, I think it's so powerful for us to share our stories. As the reason I became an international transformational speaker was I realized our story matters, our story empowers because it shows people what's possible. We don't know what we don't know. So, right now, if you're listening, your definition of success is shaped by what is coming into your conscious and what is going into your subconscious. But if you don't necessarily know what's possible, sometimes our dreams, sometimes what we believe can be limited. But when you hear other people's stories and you hear the possibilities of what can be, that then gives you a perspective that you never even considered before. And now it just opens up this world of, man, what could I do if I have the courage, to step out and step forward? That made me think about the time where I couldn't walk from my front door to my mailbox without running out of breath. And then I started this journey of a couch to 5K. And I accomplished my first 5K. And then I went to go sign up for another race, which was a marathon. And after doing the 5K, and I signed up for I told the story before, I signed up for the marathon. I was like, yeah, sign me up. And she was like, have you ever done a marathon before? I was like, no. She was like, do you know how far it is? I was like, no. She said 26.2 miles. I said, what?
Excuse me?
I said, people run, people do that. I think that, like you said, I'm like, that's possible. In that moment, to me, that concept seemed very foreign and it seemed impossible. But it wasn't until I learned that other people was doing this, it then set me on this course and this journey where I said, okay, let me do a 10K. Like we talked about the challenges of yesterday, just the things that we are learning today. I said, okay, let me go from a 5K to a 10K, a 10K to a half marathon, a half marathon to my first marathon, a first marathon to my second marathon. It went from front door to mailbox, 5K, all the way to running 2 marathons. But in that journey was a process. It was a mindset. It was a shift. It was learning what was possible and then redefining that and challenging myself and having the courage to push forward. So that's why, it's important for us to share our stories to empower others.
And then I don't even know what I'm about to say, what category it falls in, but maybe you can help me with this, Sapphire or Minesh, because the only way I can categorize it is a quantum shift. And what I mean by that is, because you talked about incrementally improving, but there is something to doing a quantum jump as well. Case in point, you were with me when I decided I was going to bike 170 miles. And the most I had done that year or this year was 70 in one. I was trying to work my way up to 100s for some events that are coming up. But I read a book. And this book talked about rites of passage and the dying of self so that or having the boy die so that the man emerges. And in that, I got this idea of going on my own rites of passage for 170 miles. I did not make the 170 miles, but I did complete 140. And that right there shifted my mindset completely, because 100 miles was no longer something I needed to work towards. It was something that I wanted to be a normal thing. Like something like, you know what, I'm heading out. I'm going to do 100 miles. I'll be back.
Mm.
And it was like that 140 just shifted everything that was possible. And so I don't know where it falls, because no one said, hey, you can do 140 miles right, like right now. No one said that. But I I got the idea in my head that it was possible and that I had to physically do it. And as long as I wasn't injured, I could keep going and push through whatever it was. And so I don't know what we call that. There's the incremental increase, and then there's that quantum level. And maybe that's what we called it. I don't know. Y'all's silence is like,
Yeah, so I didn't know if you were adding something. Sure.
silence is
So
like,
let me first of all say congratulations, because obviously going back to the fundamental, what is the fundamental? It's called courage,
yeah,
right? Courage simply means that not that your absence of fear, as you know, courage is knowing that this will take something else out of you that you haven't put in before, right? Or you have to do more than before. And I think it comes down to what I have, because a lot of people say, hey, how come this person achieved so much success so quickly? They were more prepared than the person who did not. So in your case, the quantum shift took place only because you had laid the foundation.
Yeah.
If you had not laid the foundation of, like the biking example, you had not
yeah,
done like 40, 50 miles and stuff like that, right? Like in Sapphire's case, if she had not built the foundation for a 5K or 10K,
yeah.
that quantum shift is impossible because you haven't prepared yourself. Because success is never complicated. It's never complicated. Success simply depends on one thing. Like when you go to a restaurant, all of us, because I coach a lot of different types of people, coach people who make millions of dollars a year to people who have started their business, is when you go to a restaurant, you can have anything you want. There is only one condition to it. What is that? You have to pay the price,
Mhm. What's the price?
right?
Yes.
The menu is right in front of you. It
Yeah.
tells you the price. So you know whether, if you're buying like onion rings at Burger King for $3, $4, or you're going to, a high level restaurant where one dish is costing you $100, $200, right? The price is displayed in front of us. The problem in life that we lead is we don't know what the price is.
I love that.
Because we don't know what the price is, the journey becomes complicated, and we don't know how to pay that price. So the success is always going to be the same in terms of how to get it. If you are willing to pay the price, you can have it. But the two things which happen for all of us is, number one is we don't really know what the price is. We really don't. We think we do, but we don't. You know what I'm talking? Unless we have gone
Yes.
through. Like, I don't know the price to pay for 140 miles in one day, right? Kyle knows that price. And the second is, during the payment of the price, will we find the energy, the motivation, the resources, the connections, the strategies, the skills? Will we continue to dig deeper and find those to develop that? And if we can't pay the price. Does that make sense to you what I'm
Oh,
talking about?
100%.
Yeah.
I love that. There, and you actually are, you hit on something I was going to bring up, earlier, which is willingness, right? Because I can have a solid foundation, but if I am not willing to pay that price, the foundation doesn't really matter, does it? If I'm not willing to pay that price. And I love your example of the restaurant, because the prices are right in front of you. I'm willing to pay this amount for salmon, but I'm probably not willing to pay that amount for steak. So I don't even eat meat. So I'm definitely not paying that price. But my point is that um, having that willingness is extremely important, because with courage, I can choose to be courageous, and I can choose to not be courageous. And Sapphire and I have talked about this in the past, where it's like, the more you practice your courage, the more you can actually exhibit courage. However, there will be times where you just ain't gonna want it.
Ain't gonna wanna.
You don't want it.
You don't wanna.
And there are times where you're not gonna want it and you're not gonna. And
You've
then,
been living in Jacksonville way too long.
but there's also times where you're not gonna want it and you're just gonna go ahead and do it anyway. You're gonna be aware that you don't want to do this, but you're going to do it anyway, because whatever is the cost or the price, it is worth it for whatever result you're seeking.
Can I? So when I was silent earlier, I had I had two things going through my mind at the same time. And when you say quantum shift, when I hear the word quantum, like I'm thinking about like universe, like Star Wars, Star Trek, like
Yes.
massive distances.
Right. Like light
Far,
speed,
far away,
faster than light.
faster than light. And it felt like a misnomer what you were saying, because even though it was a big jump,
Yeah.
it, like Minesh said, there was preparation involved. You didn't just go from never cycling ever in your life
40.
to 140.
Yeah.
That's how I perceive quantum. But then also, the second thought that I was thinking was the most massive quantum shift I've ever taken was not a long distance. It was a short distance, and me deciding that I want more from my life. A shifting in my mindset.
Which, if we were measuring that, it probably is a big distance. If we're measuring that mind shift.
But the action of it wasn't.
Yeah. But the actions weren't big.
The action of it was like, oh, change of perspective. But then a journey had to begin to go the distance, go the way. So that's what was going through my mind when you said quantum.
Sapphire, we've never had a moment that quiet ever on this podcast. Never, ever. We're both the host and the guest.
Because see, that was a very profound statement though you made though. So it was very prolific in the fact that it forced you to really think about what you said and how you would view that and perceive it. So yeah, it definitely challenged my mental for a minute.
Well, this was a juicy one today. I'm telling you.
We need like to come back, Minesh, because
we're not done, Minesh.
I was like, I had more questions, but we got to get to the rapid fire round, Minesh, which is our favorite part of the podcast, where we ask these 3 questions in a very short period of time, not quantum, very short period of time. You answer these questions the best of your ability. Are you ready, Minesh, for the rapid fire round? Let's go. What's one small decision you made that ended up creating a massive shift in your life?
So I remember I was speaking at a Rotary Club, and I was sitting next to somebody who had brought me there, who was one of the planners for that. And I started talking to him. It's like, hey, I'm a coach. He's like, yeah, I wanted to take coaching, and he told me about a company and all that stuff. You should check them out. I said, sure. So I decided to pursue that, and I built a connection with somebody who brought me over $1 million in revenue over the next 10, 20 years.
Wow, man, that's a man, Matt.
Huge shift.
Relationships, right? Relationships, connections are important. Number 2, what's the wildest or most spontaneous thing you've ever done in the name of personal growth or development?
So that was to join a certain program through a company called Landmark Education. And that's how I met my wife. And the rest is history, as you can see.
I did Landmark in New Jersey.
I've
Well,
never heard of it. Now I gotta go check
Oh
it
my God.
out.
I met I met Werner Erhard in New Jersey.
Did you really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sapphire. We done just started going down a pathway that, if you do, you know.
Guys, take me with you. I want to go. I want to be on this pathway.
He gets it.
God, yes. Minesh, I have gotten the chance. So you mentioned Warner Earhart.
Yeah.
They had a nonprofit organization called the Breakthrough Foundation. My cousin was a part of that. And when it folded, they sold their technology to two people, one of which was my cousin. And so he took that technology and continued to do the work of working with youth at risk, but did it on an international scale. So, and as a matter of fact, this year he just finished his last course as leading a course and is now retired from it. But that was in Belgium. He was did a lot of them in Belgium. So I had no idea that you were a Landmark Education alum. That is awesome. Coach Sapphire, I wish I could describe to you what this is all about, but we don't have the time. We'll have to do it offline. But
Okay.
it is Landmark Education kind of spawned from Warner Earhart in the EST training. And so, we've talked about EST in the past, but you may not remember that conversation. So, because I'm sure it was a quick conversation, but regardless, it's one of those things I can't really describe. It's one of those things you really do kind of have to experience it.
Oh, that's the thing you were telling me about with your cousin.
Yes.
Oh, I remember now. Okay. Wow. Okay.
I have not met someone from Landmark, knowingly met someone from Landmark in so long. Like, that stuff sticks with you the rest of your life. Sticks with you.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That was, look at there. If your line had a theme song that played every time you had a breakthrough, what song would it be?
Well, that's interesting. The song which gave me the breakthrough is the one I would like to mention because, as a parent, the song that really is, and Kyle, I think I've told you this before, Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoon.
Oh, we were listening to it before the podcast.
That's
It's fun because I don't think Sapphire, you had never heard the song before, right? Or you've
Never heard of it
you never heard.
until Ness mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh, let me listen to it." And I'm like, "Wow, this is powerful. This is powerful."
I had heard the song plenty, but never paid attention to the lyrics until today, where I actually was reading the lyrics along with the song. And I was like, this is phenomenal. But I also remember this song from the 70s, So, I had no idea how amazing the lyrics were to that song because it's so catchy. The song itself is so catchy. But yes,
that song literally transformed my approach to being a parent.
I get it.
And like that, I will never be that parent. I will never be that parent. And I'm glad to say I'm not that parent.
It's phenomenal. Like, I had no idea that the lyrics for that song were that rich, because it's just to me, it was just a catchy song from the 70s,
And it sounds like a nursery rhyme in itself, which nursery rhymes are meant to teach. Yeah. There's a moral to the story. Yeah. There's a lesson to be learned. And kudos for you for picking that up and taking the torch. And now you've passed that on to your kids with your legacy, which I think is very amazing because earlier you talked about being in 10 days from now, being on that red dot, being on a TEDx stage, and your daughter is a TEDx speaker. And you know why this is so amazing to me? Because it's one of my dreams to stand on that red dot. And so just talking to you, I'm inspired. I'm just encouraged. And I'm just like, it's just a matter of I'm daring to dream.
And now that you are on the podcast, we are expecting that the next TEDx when you do that, we just kind of bypass the line and one of us gets on that red dot. We don't want to apply. We don't want to we'll go through the coaching. We'll go through all that. However, we want to cut in front of the line.
Listen, we're in
Well,
Tennessee living too,
my
right? We're
daughter is
planting
teaching on Friday. If you know, Kyle, we do Friday networking
Yes.
at noon. So she's going to be teaching about her journey
Oh
lessons
wow.
on TEDx. So
I
she'll
wish I could be on. First of all, I always want to do it on Fridays, but my Fridays have gotten really full. I'm actually driving for a funeral on Friday, so I'm gonna
sorry.
miss it. And I would. This is probably the one I really want to go to now that you mentioned that what's gonna happen. Like now, I'm a little jealous. So,
Yeah.
but
So those who bring a guest, then the
Sam,
person
how
who
you to go
brings
to
the
my
guest
place?
and the guest will win the book called Talk Like TED. So that's
You
I'm
need to go to
giving
my
her.
place, Sapphire.
Man, I wish I could. I may have to. Jacksonville is not that far.
No, it's virtual. The meeting that he's talking about is gonna be virtual on Fridays.
Oh, okay. I want to go. Sign me up.
Okay, great. Go to
Great.
fridaynetworking.com. So on a weekly basis, we have speakers and one speaker speaks for 20, 30 minutes. Then we have speed networking. So you can connect with other people one to one in Zoom. And that's Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And the simple place to go is fridaynetworking.com and register for it.
Friday networking.
Uh, yep.
Man,
Very, I've enjoyed every single one I've been a part of.
this has been absolutely amazing. I feel like we could have just kept talking for
Yeah,
hours.
we ain't done with you, Ines. We are not done with you. We're done today, but we are not done with you.
And we really want to thank you for coming on, sharing your story and to empower others in this transformational conversation. Because like I said earlier, I believe our story matters and I'm so glad that we have this platform to bring people on to share their story to empower millions of people because we have that ability, we have that reach to be able to do that. And the reality is if we can change one life, we can change a million. So thank you so much for having the
pleasure.
courage to come on and share with us your story. Coach Kyle, do you have any final words for us?
Do I have any final words for you all today? Anything you cannot relinquish when it's outlived usefulness possesses you.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're
Thank you. Thank you, Soul Shifters, for tuning in today. If there was something that stood out to you during the conversation today, please put that in the comment section. We would also like for you to share, if you have the courage to share, how do you define success for your life? Again, remember, sharing is caring. If you know someone that can use a soul shift, please share our podcast and also visit us at www.soulshift.sessions.com. As always, remember to always let your soul glow. Till next time.
Everyone.